Welcome, Midwest Elevation. We are back with another Tuesday conversation to raise the collective conscious. Um, so excited to be here. Let us know you're here down in the comments. I know we are starting a little bit late. Technology is a wonder and a joy for us all the time. So let me take a moment and introduce my guest to you today. Get my screen share up. I know you can already see her beautiful face, but here we go. The one, the only Sirena Andrea is here with us today, and we are going to be talking about story and, of course, the healing power of story. But let me tell you a little bit more about her. Sirena Andrea is the creator and director of the groundbreaking YoniVerse Monologues and storytelling training program that has helped thousands of women to heal through story in an environment of safety and support. Her shows have sold out performances for the last 7 years, featuring true life stories told by the courageous women who have lived them. She is now delivering these stories online so the whole world can witness and heal together. She's a regular keynote speaker and master storyteller specializing in empowering women to become the authors of their lives and pursue their dreams and goals through the powerful process of healing through story. Welcome, Sirena. I am so glad you are here.
What an honor. What an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm introduction.
You're
Really.
so welcome. Hold on now because I'm having an issue hearing us in double.
What an honor. What an honor. Thank you so much. Look. Thank you for the warm introduction.
I know. We're on twice. Where did it go? Hold on now because I'm having an issue. This is, here we go. Okay. I think I fixed it.
Well done.
Thank you. Well, if there's any way to tell a story, it's not on repeat or it is on repeat. I don't know. Echo? Something. It's trying to tell us something.
Well, the truth is stories do repeat themselves, especially if we have a story that greatly impacted us. Story where something changed suddenly, or it could be for something changed suddenly in a good way or something changed suddenly in a bad way. And we were either alone or felt alone in that. Those stories can go on repeat. And I'm wondering if you have that experience with your writing clients where they get stuck in a loop around story.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and we find that those are the stories that keep kind of tapping us on the shoulder because there's something underneath it, something that we're trying to learn from or something. And obviously, whether a good story or a bad story, we hold the good ones dear and we want to keep those good feelings around too. And then, when things maybe didn't go our way or left a pretty heavy mark, those stories have obviously a different message and a different opportunity for learning.
Yeah. So what should we talk about?
We should talk about, well, I'm really excited to have you here because your work it's really about some of those stories that are on repeat, but your true life story, right? And how we embody, how we walk in the world with whatever that story is. In your bio, you say, we are truly the authors, right, of our life stories. So even though you are the master teller, right, there's more to it than that. So maybe dig in a little bit for how that's connected for you.
Stories have been around for over 15,000 years. The human brain is wired for stories, which means that we use stories as a vehicle, not just to communicate, but to survive. In the before times, stories were shared amongst people on where to find the berries that are poisonous and where to find the berries that are edible, right? Where to go when it's the rainy season and where to go when it's the dry season. So our brains are wired so we don't have to teach ourselves how to listen to a story, how to imagine a story. We actually, when someone is telling a story, we literally jump into it with our imagination, and we walk along with the storyteller to find out how they survived, what they learned, how they got to celebration. So we're already wired like that. You know, we've only been writing for 5,000 years. That's something we had to learn.
Mm.
So what I've been doing is studying the old stories, the fairy tales and the myths and the legends, looking for the wisdom that was inside of those stories to help me navigate a complex human experience. How do I navigate things like, you know, forgiveness and betrayal and trust, and what does love really mean? And I turn to those old stories as a teacher to find to find to find illuminated examples I could share with my students. Because whether you're
Mm-hmm.
5 or you're 50, right? Forgiveness is something that may be challenging. Compassion may be challenging. Patience is absolutely challenging. And I wanted to find a way to communicate to my students, so they didn't have to, so that they had a roadmap on how to be really human. And when I say be human, right, there's not like I have an idea if there's a right way or wrong way to be human, but in a world where things are so fast and technology based, in my experience, the average person has some missing lessons. They didn't get them from their grandparents, maybe, or maybe they didn't get it from their parents or their teachers. They didn't get the teaching on how do you find your way to forgiveness if you've been betrayed? How do you rebuild trust if trust has been broken? How do you love yourself if you weren't loved in the right way? So that's why I went on the storytelling path, because I found that there was that information in stories, and that was really helping me navigate my life.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we talk in, you know, the allegory or the mythical, and all of these things um, are humans, you know, the stories of the human experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many universal life lessons you mentioned, you know, many of them, forgiveness and trust, and I like how you noted, right, that we might not have learned these lessons from our people who are supposed to be our teachers
Right.
necessarily. And for whatever reason, sometimes it's just that we can't hear the lesson. You know, some of us learn more experientially than than others.
Yeah. Yeah. When I got recruited to work at a Buddhist elementary school, my teacher let me know that all the children that come into my classroom are born with a compassionate heart.
Mm,
But if they aren't given the opportunity to be compassionate in action,
mm,
they'll develop habits that aren't as compassionate. So as teachers, we were really focusing on giving them tasks and supporting them to take the innate compassion that they had
mm,
and turn it into action. So it became a habit,
mm.
right? So inside of every human heart, we have all of these qualities of generosity and respect. But if we develop habits of not using those qualities, they atrophy like anything else.
Right, right.
Stories were the great reminder to show them that, right, it's possible in the face of adversity. It's possible in the face of great destruction. It's
Mm,
possible in the face of not getting what you want, that you still have that seed inside you. And if you can train, right, or develop habits as a little person or a big person to draw those qualities out and actually practice them, then you're more likely to feel more open-hearted, right?
mm,
More human-hearted, more connected. And I think that's what people really want. I think most humans really want to feel this magnificent heart that they have instead of quickly bypassing
mm,
what's here.
mhm.
And if you don't have teachers, if you're not practicing in a classroom or in a community compassionate action, it's hard to be compassionate with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So my career really changed when Um, I was ready to transition out of the classroom and begin telling stories in to a wider audience, basically little people in big people's bodies. And my challenge was to go from this mythical realm of storytelling, this ancient tradition, into the modern world. And that bridge for me was true life stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was not an easy bridge because true life stories are vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'd much rather talk, oh my God, about raccoons and um, nymphs and bears and
Uh-huh.
badgers and all those things than talk about my true life experience. So it was a learning curve to become
Mm,
vulnerable and still stay in compassion towards myself and tell my truth.
mm, hmm. Well, and that's, what I have observed and what I see in you and your work, what you provide for your clients, because it is far scarier to jump into a point where you're telling your story from your point of view, or because you're still connected to it, versus if you write the allegory, or the you know the the bunnies, the animals, whatever, going through the same problem. There's that separation,
Yeah.
which the separation can be safe, and you can tell the story, and some people can receive that, the learning from it. But if you are able to really pull it from within, from your heart, from inside of your experience, not only is it vulnerable, but it's much more powerful for both
Yeah.
you and your audience, your listeners.
Super potent. If you're a writer and you're listening to what Renee's laying down, it's so true. When you're writing from a place that's close to your inner world, to your emotional connection, to your emotional capacity, like your work becomes so much more potent.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're writing about a universal story, right? If you're writing about a time where your parents got divorced, if you're writing about a car accident, if you're writing about falling in love for the first time, if you're writing about the birth of your child, if you're writing about the loss of your child, that's when you start to have these universal themes that many humans experience together with you. And if you share from that personal place, then that's how you connect with your audience. Those universal themes are true everywhere. And then your impact can be even bigger.
Mm-hmm. I love that image too, of the ripple. And you and your clients don't just tell any stories. Um, which is probably partly why I'm so intrigued by your work. Um, your company is YoniVerse Monologues, and you work specifically with women, and there are a lot of women here in Midwest Elevation. I don't know what the ratio is. There's all across the gender identities here. Um, but I do
Wonderful.
know, yeah, but I do know that women specifically um, have, how do I want to say this?
You're going to have to be correct about it.
I know. What am I saying, right? We have well, the experiences are certainly universal across genders, but more often than not, women have experiences that are sexually traumatic, or um, you know, relationships. There's this you know this this series that we do, the collective consciousness, right? Whether we've experienced it personally or not, there is the underbelly um, of a connected experience of disempowerment. And the thing that I love about your work is that it takes that story of disempowerment, and it re-empowers the storyteller, the audience, and in turn, the community.
Right? Because whenever someone's voice is silenced or stuffed, right? The power of speaking out, the power of being heard is stuffed. There's a disempowerment that happens. And it has definitely happened with men and women in different scenarios and across the board with different races and colors where we've had to stuff our voices down. And when I started the YoniVerse, I didn't know what I know now. When I started the YoniVerse, I was sitting in all these different women's circles where we were sharing about our true life experiences with one another. And we were witnessing each other in a way where we didn't try and fix or recommend. And it was in that like silent bearing witness to each other's experiences that I started to see healing happen. Because women would be up against a certain situation in their life where they are feeling disempowered. And by speaking about it in a safe place, they would find their own wisdom and answers inside of them. And then they come back the next week and they share, you know, I was honest with so-and-so. I finally told so-and-so this thing that I've been thinking, and their lives would begin to change. And so I was watching that and I was wondering, I'm like, so I wonder if everybody else knows this. I wonder if other women know that by sharing honestly the good, the bad, and the ugly about what they're going through could empower them. And so the woman who I started this project with was a teacher, and she was doing research, and she found out that in Africa to this day, there is still mass genital mutilation done on girls. And I was horrified. I thought that was something of the past. And so I got really fired up and I'm like, what can I do to raise the consciousness in my own community around what's happening globally in the world against women, what's happening in my community around disempowering women, and what's happening with the women that I know? How can I raise it all up with like one hand? Because that's a lot of work to do, right? So we came up with this idea of the YoniVerse, a play on the universe. And the Sanskrit word for yoni is what it means. It means it's a crack in the universe where something gets through, right? So it's a special shape that is all over. You see it on the ground after it's rained. You see canyons cracked yoni shape. And that's where every human being, no matter what gender or what mix of gender, comes through a yoni. That's where we all come from, that world, and through that crack into this world, right? So that's why we called it the YoniVerse, because I also wanted to uplift and empower, right, female genitalia that in many cultures and in dogma has put that down as something, right, dirty and not to be talked about, when it's like, oh my God, even if you looked at a bird or a lizard or a seal or a dog or a cat, like they've all come through yonis. All the life on this world comes through a yoni. And I wanted to talk about it because what comes back to haunt every human being is having an experience that was either extremely pleasant or extremely and feeling alone in it. Yeah. And like this show that you're doing right here is lifting up my voice along with your voice. We're bringing the opportunity for all of our minds to have a shift, to think of things in a slightly different way, right? And if we can do that little by little, we not only become open-minded, we become open-hearted. And isn't that the kind of world we want to live in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So brilliant. So brilliant. I do want to check and see if we have any comments from our gallery here. I have a slight fear that when I close that it went away, because I'm not finding it. I'm not finding us here, but it still says we're live and I'm recording. So either way, Midwest Elevation, this will get to you if it's not right now. But I just want to say, there's so much wisdom here Um, and you just kind of blew my mind with the whole like definition of the yoni and how and you know, I think Mother Earth, right? That's all. Oh, we are there. We're here. I didn't know where we were. Oh, yes. My heart expanded with warmth when you talked about transforming disempowerment into healing wholeness. Okay, well, I
Mm,
don't know where we are, but somebody is here. Thank you, Sandra. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the work that we do together, right? This is why, you know, I hold these conversations every week with um, with women who are doing this work, and not just women. I mean, a couple men here too, but everybody here is really trying to take, you know, it's not that pain can't exist or we erase it, but we can transform it and we can transform our relationship to our stories, and we can decide what our futures look like as a result.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's
Uh,
impossible to get through a human life without any pain and loss. It's impossible. And
yeah.
it's it's also about, Renee, I love that you talked about that. It's about shedding the shame around it, right? Shame is something that we do to ourselves on top of the injury.
Yeah.
Guilt is what we do to ourselves on top of the injury. So if you've experienced some kind of loss or failure or divorce or like on, I mean, the list is long in human experiences, right? What we do on top of it is what is really hard and debilitating. And we usually do that in private, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we get together in openness and transparency and we're allowed to be vulnerable, that's where the medicine, that's where things start to change. We find out we're
Mm,
actually not alone.
mm,
And that's the magic of storytelling. And that's what cultures have known forever.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we run out of time, I want to make sure that we talk about your newest project. You are in the process of gathering some more women for your next
I
True Love
am.
Stories. Tell us more.
I'm so excited. So every year I gather a small intimate group of women and we come together and we spend time in a sacred crucible where we look at some of our threshold stories. So stories around birth, stories around coming of age, stories about death, and stories about rebirth. And we really look at the threshold stories in our lives where we had experiences that shaped who we are. And what the magic is that I see every year is that there's a thread that starts to evolve. Like there's something that has been like, it's almost like been stalking us our whole life, right?
Yes.
And then we settle into one particular story and we really craft it. And I'm in the process of gathering women into that process so that these stories can be a gift to our community.
Mm,
Because when we have these stories, like we started off this call, some stories are on repeat in our head. There's something that happened or maybe something that didn't happen. And that story keeps spinning. And we either keep thinking about how we can solve it. Like, why did it happen that way? I
mm,
wish I should have done something different.
mm.
Or we're trying to avoid anything in our life that looks like that story.
Yeah.
And either way, that really smallers our world. And so when a woman turns to face her true life experience and is able to look at her story from multiple sides, something loosens. And the process that I do in the YoniVerse, I have been honing for years, and it's very precise to give a woman a chance to breathe, to see her story and herself in a different way. And I watch the women who go through this program, they end up liberated in a way that psychotherapy, dieting,
Yeah.
journaling hasn't been
Yeah.
able to get to. And what I love about my process that's similar to the process that you walk women through in your Rebel Writers group is the pen to paper piece. right?
Mm.
Because stories want to be heard. And
Mm-hmm.
so when a storyteller, a writer, a screenwriter puts the pen to paper and actually gets held accountable to just keep working out the material so that it can be heard, there's so much transformation possible. So I have a couple seats left in my program, and it's open to any woman anywhere now that we're live, right? This program
Yes.
started in Santa Cruz, but now we have women from Costa Rica, from Texas, a really incredible group of women, and there's a couple seats left for anyone who wants to learn about the art of storytelling.
I love it. Well, I will make sure to get that link down in the comments for anybody who's interested to apply to be a part of this program. It sounds amazing. You know, the transformative work that is writing and storytelling and speaking your truth in whatever way that you can create to, you know, put it out there. It has a magic. It has a magic to it. And, you know, funny, the writer who has no words to describe what the process is here, but you get it. And I know, you know, our people out there watching, they get a sense of what that is and what's possible, and what you have shown is possible through your work um, is just incredible. And I'm super grateful that you are here doing this work
Mm.
in this world.
Thank you for your respect and your love. I feel it. I really appreciate it. And it's such an honor to be here with another writer and feel the gravity of what we're up to,
Mm,
giving people a platform and a place to really express.
yeah,
Yeah. So my hat's
yeah.
off to you as well, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
Okay, Midwest Elevation. We will be back again next Tuesday with another fabulous woman. Diane Kelly will be here to share her soul fire woman adventure and journey. And so join us again next Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Central Time, and we will see you then. Thanks so much.